Good evening, I am Angel. Welcome to the channel. Just some weeks after the presidential elections in Peru, I want to share this book with you. Mrs. K, neither a victim nor a heroine, on the life of Keiko Sofia Fujimori Higuchi, loved and hated politician and frequent presidential candidate. Written by journalist Valerie Vázquez de Velasco, lawyer Ariana Lira, lawyer Beatriz Llanos, and journalist Mabel Huertas, all of whom have worked or currently work in television. Published in September 2020 by Página 11, belonging to Librerías Crisol from Peru, this book has 190 pages divided in 4 chapters. As Ms. Elda Cantu states in the prologue, this goes beyond a typical biography, using such sources as letters, US intelligence reports, testimonies, and academic analysis, all of them used so as to explain who this woman is. Someone who, as page 9 says, was pushed into politics and then couldn't or didn't want to get out. Valerie Vázquez de Velasco writes the first chapter, Curriculum Vitae, on how unlikely it would have seemed that a youngster like her would be a major character in Peruvian politics, yet she had to be the first lady at the very age of 19, replacing her mother. Could power be stronger than helping her own mom? Let's remember Miss Susana Higuchi had accused Alberto Fujimori's family of stealing clothes donated for the poor, and she ended up being tortured, kidnapped, and silenced. Keiko says that was false. Her mom called her a liar, and the story continues. The account goes on to portray Alberto Fujimori on how he went step by step with Oriental patience on his way to politics and power. And in the end, he became the president of Peru in 1990. A character that I didn't remember at all, Ana Gers de la Vega, is mentioned here. Was she a version of Montesinos? Was she the First Lady's advisor? Nicknamed the Nanny, she showed loyalty to Keiko, staying with her when everybody had abandoned her. It's clear one of the values Keiko appreciates the most is that loyalty. The chapter also covers something I have heard Keiko mentions frequently, on how early she stopped trusting Vladimiro Montesinos, leader of the intelligence service and presidential advisor. The theory of a devoted daughter who wanted to save her father from Montesinos, well, it's up to us to believe her or not. Chapter 2, Damnatio Memoriae, by Ariana Lira, deals with that transformation from an inexperienced young woman to that political monster she is now, shaped by Ana Gers, that obscure woman who became an important companion. In this chapter, it is stated that her feud with Montesinos was true, according to witnesses, and so surprising that she worked. Page 64. Shocking indeed, because the main argument to criticize her is that she has never done so. What is really impressive in this chapter is that dilemma in her political career, whether to appeal to her father's legacy, the past, or to found a new image, the future. That initial de-Fujimorization would cause angry arguments inside the political party. Some were Albertists and others were Keikists. That vision was not so clear in Keiko's strategy, though, to which we would need to add intra-family conflict and her failure to accept she had been defeated by Pedro Pablo Kuczynski in the 2016 presidential elections, a type of stubbornness, to say the least, repeated this year for the same reason. Chapter 3, An Explosive Cocktail, was written by Beatriz Llanos and was the hardest one for me, although it proves really relevant so as to understood why she has been imprisoned more than once and why she might go back to prison. Basically, the problem is how legal it is for a political party to be financed or founded privately. At the prosecutor's office, which investigated asset laundering, she stated that the party had collected almost 5 million soles through 5 cocktail parties, a dinner, and a raffle, though less than 45% of the money could be explained. Can Fuerza Popular, the political party, be considered as a criminal organization which committed asset laundering? The chapter implies that the prosecutor's office, after 2 years investigating, hasn't been able to accuse her of that. I understand that they haven't been able to prove it. That's the conclusion in this chapter. Finally, chapter 4 by Mabel Huertas is called Stop the Show. Here, we are reminded that Ms. Fujimori was in jail from October 2018 to April 2020, having written 10 letters throughout that time and sharing them thanks to social media. All of them are shown here, as you can see, in photos and or transcribed. During that time, there was an internal crisis in the party, internal betrayal, public scandals showing WhatsApp conversations which proved that they had protected Cesar Nostroza, for example, the infamous judge. That image of victim that she had in two ways: persecution by her political enemies and a victim of fate. Her son in Fujimori meant she was obliged to continue what her father had done. The overweight woman who took part in Ironman, the famous competition, involving swimming, cycling, and running, covering about 100 kilometers. A strong woman who, once again, was against her own brother, Kenji. If he was trying to restore their father's image, she wanted to break with the past. This chapter reminds us that the investigation against her is still taking place and we are yet to know whether she will go back to jail. Well, Keiko Fujimori is probably the political figure in Peru who generates most polarized views and heated debates. It is certainly difficult to have an unbiased view of her. A calculating, cold, corrupt woman hungry for power who only cares for herself, or a victim accused of what her father perpetrated. That, precisely, is debated in some chapters, to what extent she had to appeal to her father's legacy and set herself apart from his crimes. If one does not take one of these views as a position, he or she will be called neutral in a derogatory way, of course. Though, starting with the very title, these ladies have attempted to be objective, I would have wanted more documents, not to judge her in advance, but to read more facts and fewer suppositions. There are so many testimonies here that somehow try to improve the image of Keiko Fujimori in a little bit too evident way, I would say. Perhaps nobody will be satisfied with a book like this, since its attempted neutrality will make the authors and the content be criticized for taking a position for her or against her, depending on the perspective a person might have. Perhaps more the former than the latter. Having said that, I still recommend reading this book. In a period in which so many books like this have appeared in our country, when others see opportunism, I see the same, but also the opportunity to learn and try to question some views or prejudices I may have. Bye bye.